I stopped supporting my brother's family after he called me a loser. Now he's paying the price. I stopped supporting my brother's family after he said, "No place for losers," which is why I wasn't invited to Christmas. Now he's losing it. In fact, I was actually excited for Christmas this year. For once, I wasn't rushing around at the last minute. I had already bought gifts for my parents, my brother Jacob, his wife Kelly, and their kids by the first week of December. I even bought extra presents in case any unannounced visitors showed up. I don't know why, but I had the feeling this Christmas was going to be a good one. That's why it threw me off when my mom opened the door and told me, "We don't want you here this year," as I stood on their porch, holding bags of gifts. At first, I thought she was joking. I started to chuckle, but then I heard Jacob's voice from behind her. "This is no place for losers. You're really starting to wear on all of us." I just stood there looking at her. My dad was in the background, staring anywhere but at me, not saying a word. Despite her uncomfortable expression, my mom didn't say anything to defend me, and Jacob was acting completely arrogant. I felt humiliated, furious, and confused all at once, but I managed to keep my cool. "Fine, if that's how you feel," I said, nodding, and turned to leave. As I got back to my car, I couldn't shake off what he said. No place for losers. What had brought this on? I'd always been generous to him and his family. I'd paid for his kids' summer camp, bought their school supplies, and even helped with his mortgage when he needed it most. And now, suddenly, I wasn't invited to Christmas? I decided not to leave just yet. I wanted some answers, so I went back to the door. My parents were still there, talking quietly, and Jacob was pretending nothing had happened, sitting on the couch scrolling through his phone. I didn't knock, I just walked in. "What's going on? Why am I not welcome at Christmas? What did I do?" I asked, not raising my voice. Jacob finally looked up from his phone and said, "You really don't get it, do you? You've been slacking off. The kids haven't gotten much from you this year." I was stunned. "What are you talking about? I've spent hundreds on gifts for your kids. They have more presents in the car than anyone else." He just shook his head. "Last year you did more. This year it's like you don't care. It's embarrassing for us." I looked at my parents, hoping they would say something, maybe defend me or tell Jacob he was out of line. Instead, my mom awkwardly said, "But you just bought a new car. You found money for that." I was speechless for a moment. "The car is on credit," I said, trying to stay calm. "And even if it wasn't, how does that suddenly make me responsible for Jacob's kids? They're not my responsibility." Jacob leaned back on the couch and said, "You make the most money. Families help each other. You've always done that." I glanced at Kelly, who was sitting quietly in the corner, avoiding eye contact. She didn't say a word. It was like she wanted to disappear. "Is that it?" I asked. "Because I've been generous in the past, I'm supposed to do this forever? And if I don't, I'm a loser?" He shrugged. "If the shoe fits." That was it for me. I shook my head and stepped back. "You know what? You're right. I don't belong here," I said, turning to Jacob. "Enjoy your Christmas and good luck with those presents. This loser is done financing your life." I didn't wait for a response. I just left, gripping the steering wheel harder than I needed to as I drove home. Was I the villain here? For years, I had helped my family, always jumping in when Jacob needed something, making sure his kids never went without. And now, because I wasn't doing enough, I was a loser and unwelcome at Christmas? When I got home, I sat in the driveway for a while, staring at the bags of gifts still in the passenger seat. I had spent weeks picking out the perfect presents, thinking about what my parents and nieces and nephews would love. And now, for what? I wasn't even supposed to be there. The more I thought about it, the clearer it became. This went beyond Christmas. I'd been too blind, or maybe too willing, to see that this had been building for years. Jacob had always relied on me, financially, emotionally, in every way. And it started to feel less like him being thankful, and more like he felt entitled. The final straw had been being kicked out of my own family's Christmas because I hadn't spent enough. That's when I knew I was done. The next morning, I woke up with clarity. No more helping Jacob. No more buying presents to make up for his failures. He could figure it out on his own if he wanted to provide for his kids. It wasn't an easy decision. I knew I'd lose my brother's financial support, and possibly my connection with him, his kids, and even my parents. But I couldn't keep being treated like a bank, not a brother. I didn't hear from anyone, and I didn't reach out either. Maybe they got the message. New Year's Eve came, and the silence was deafening. No texts, no calls, nothing. For the first time in years, I spent the holidays alone. I wasn't surprised they didn't contact me, but it still felt strange when midnight came and my phone was still silent. I'll admit, I thought about calling them, but every time I did, I remembered Jacob's words. No place for losers. I'd been the one holding things together for years, and now they were treating me like I was disposable. If that's what they wanted, they could have it. I would give them the distance they desired. By mid-January, I noticed a shift. Kelly, who's always been reserved and avoids conflict, suddenly texted me one evening. It was short, to the point. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I don't agree with what happened. Jacob won't hear it from me, but I thought you should know. I wasn't sure how to feel. Part of me was glad that at least one person in the family recognized what was going on. On the other hand, it felt too little, too late. She hadn't said anything at the time, so why now? I replied, I appreciate it, Kelly, but this isn't something I can just move on from. She didn't respond further, and I didn't expect her to. Then, in early February, Jacob showed up at my door. I was in the middle of a work meeting and wasn't expecting anyone, so I ignored the knock at first. But when it continued, I opened the door to find Jacob looking angrier than I had ever seen him. Before I could say anything, he walked in and said, "We need to talk." I folded my arms. "What's this about?" He didn't waste any time. "You need to stop acting like this and start helping out again." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Helping out? You mean paying for your life?" I said. "I told you, I'm done with that." Jacob scowled. "You're the one with the money. Do you know how hard it's been for us since you decided to act like this? The kids barely have what they need, and Kelly's trying to keep it together, but we can't do it without your help." I stared at him, speechless for a moment. "Are you listening to yourself right now? You're a grown man, Jacob. You have a wife and kids. If you need money, go earn it. It's not my job to solve your problems." He shot back. "You've always helped before. Why are you being so selfish now?" "Selfish?" I repeated. "Let's talk about how you lied to our parents, turned them against me, and then banned me from Christmas because I didn't spend enough on your kids. And now you're here asking for more? You've got some nerve." I raised my hand, cutting him off before he could say anything else. "We're done here. I'm not giving you another dime, and I don't want to hear from you again until you figure out how to act like an adult." He glared at me before storming out. I figured that would be the end of it, but I was wrong. 2 days later, I got a call from an unknown number. Normally, I wouldn't have answered, but something made me pick it up. "Hello?" I said. A man's voice responded. "Is this Michael?" "Yeah, who's this?" "This is Mark Dawson. I'm a lawyer. I represent a client who has recently expressed concern about certain financial matters involving your—" I was at a loss for words, caught off guard by the call I received. The lawyer on the other end was asking about the contributions I'd made to my brother Jacob and his family, specifically how the money had been used. It didn't sit right with me. Was Jacob borrowing money under my name? Was he up to something shady with my information? Or was this just a final attempt to scare me into helping him again? "Who's your client?" I asked, finally breaking the silence. "I can't disclose that right now," the lawyer replied, "but I assure you this isn't a lawsuit. It's more of an investigation." I reluctantly agreed to meet. My curiosity got the best of me, and something told me this wasn't just about Jacob being himself. The next day, as I sat in the lawyer's office, I had no idea what I was walking into. He wasted no time. Kelly is the client I'm representing, he said, pushing a packet across the desk toward me. Kelly? Why would she need a lawyer? I asked, genuinely confused. He studied me carefully. She believes Jacob has been misusing the money you've given him over the years. She thinks he's been hiding money from her. And from you. I felt a wave of nausea. Hiding money? What do you mean? Mark opened the folder, revealing bank statements, receipts, and what looked like screenshots of text messages. She suspects Jacob has been funneling the money into a separate account. She thinks he's been using it for gambling and personal expenses, not for his family. I stared at the papers in disbelief. So, all those times I helped him with bills, school stuff for his kids, none of that went to them? Mark nodded grimly. It seems that way. Kelly only recently discovered the second account. She didn't know what to do at first, but she felt you needed to... No! I sat there, stunned. I had always believed I was helping Jacob and his family. Instead, I'd been deceived. Money I thought was going toward his kids and their needs had been spent elsewhere, on things I'd never imagined. Does Kelly have proof? I asked, my voice tight. Mark moved the folder closer to me. Take a look for yourself. I scanned the documents. Withdrawals from Jacob's account, large sums transferred to a different account in his name. There were even transfers from my own account, at the times I had sent him money for emergencies. And then there were the transactions. Dinners at fancy restaurants, gambling sites, hotel stays. This is unbelievable, I whispered. And Kelly knew about all this? She only just found out about the second account, Mark confirmed. She didn't have proof until she found the bank statements Jacob had left out. I was processing it all in my head. Does she want me to do anything? Press charges? Mark shook his head. Not yet. She's focused on protecting herself and the kids right now. But she wanted you to know, in case Jacob tries to manipulate you again. I laughed bitterly. He already tried. He came to my house a few days ago, demanding I start helping him again. Mark looked frustrated. Sounds like he's feeling the pressure now that you've stopped helping. He might be in more trouble than Kelly knows. I sat back in my chair, my mind racing. A part of me wanted to go to Jacob's house and confront him, but I knew that would only play into his hands. Instead, I asked, "What's Kelly planning to do?" She's considering her options, Mark said. If Jacob's behavior escalates, she might file for separation or take other legal action. Hearing that hit me harder than I expected. Kelly had always seemed like a devoted wife and mother, but if she was thinking about leaving, things must have gotten really bad. I thanked Mark for his time and walked out of his office. It was strange, but for the first time in years, I felt a sense of relief. I wasn't carrying the weight of Jacob's lies anymore, and I would never let him control me again. Over the next few days, I kept my distance from my family. I didn't call my parents, and I didn't reach out to Jacob, but it seemed like he couldn't stand the silence, because one evening, as I was getting ready for dinner, his name appeared on my phone. I almost ignored it, but something made me pick up. "What do you want, Jacob?" Without wasting any time, he snapped, "We need to talk." "You said something to Kelly, didn't you?" I raised an eyebrow. "What are you talking about?" "Don't play dumb," he yelled. "She's been acting weird since Christmas, and now she's talking about lawyers and separation. I know you've been putting ideas in her head." I couldn't help it. I laughed. "You think I'm the problem? You're the one who lied to her, hid money, and gambled it away. If she's done with your crap, that's on you, not me." There was a long pause before Jacob muttered, "You don't know what you're talking about." "Oh, I think I do," I shot back. "Kelly told me everything. The secret account, the gambling, the money you've been wasting while I've been busting my ass trying to help you. You're a joke." Before he could respond, I hung up. My hands were shaking, but it felt good. I had finally said what I'd been holding in for years. "You've used me for the last time. I'm done helping you. I'm done covering for you. And if you try to drag me into this again, I'll make sure everyone knows exactly what you've been up to." The next day, Kelly called. "Has Jacob called you?" she asked cautiously. "Yes," I replied. "He wasn't happy." She sighed. "He acknowledged some of it, but he's still trying to downplay it." "Are you okay?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. "I'm fine," she said, her voice heavy. "But I'm done defending him. The kids deserve better." Hearing her say that hit me hard. It was clear that the end was near for them, and I couldn't help but feel bad for her and the kids. "I've got your back, whatever you decide to do," I told her. "Thank you," she said softly. "And I'm sorry for everything. The way we treated you over Christmas. I should have spoken up sooner." We talked for a while, and when we hung up, I felt an odd sense of closure. Jacob had destroyed our relationship, but Kelly and the kids weren't my enemies. I wouldn't be angry with her if she found the strength to leave him. A few weeks later, Kelly sent me a short text. "We're going today." She had packed up and left while Jacob was out of town on a business trip. She'd rented a moving van, gathered the kids, and left without telling him, at least not until everything was sorted out legally. I called her right away. "I can't stay any longer," she said gently. "I can't keep pretending this is normal." "What about everything? Rent, bills?" I asked, concerned. "I was hoping you could help me with that. Just for a little while," she admitted. "I hate to ask, but—" "Say no more," I cut her off. "I'll take care of it." And so, for the first time in years, I helped Kelly and the kids. But this time, I didn't feel used. I felt like I was finally doing the right thing. When Jacob returned home to find the house empty, he was livid. He called me to vent about how I'd ruined his life and turned Kelly against him. After letting him vent for a while, I calmly said, "Maybe this wouldn't have happened if you'd spent more time being a husband and father and less time gambling." Then I hung up. Kelly and the kids were adjusting to their new life. She had secured a steady job, and for the first time in ages, she was starting to feel like she was in control of her life again. As for Jacob, he was still blaming everyone but himself. But that wasn't my problem anymore. And if you can call it that, I guess you could say I had my happy ending. Thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. And hit the notification bell to stay updated on more real-life stories like this one.